Hello everyone, very welcome back to the channel. So here we are. It is the last weekend of the Formula E Championship. Can you believe it? It feels like it's been a really long season, but actually it's only race 14 and 15 that are coming up this weekend. So it's not even as long as a Formula 1 season. It's been quite a turbulent season though, I would say. We've had some fantastic races. I think probably Monaco this year and maybe the second London E-Prix last time out were some of the best races that we've ever seen in Formula E. And to couple that with the first race that we had in Valencia, where virtually everybody on the grid ran out of usable energy just before the end of the race, that was farcical. So it's been a mixed bag. I think the rules need to be cleared up a little bit more following some of the incidents this season, and the mindless or the senseless disqualifications, elimination, points, penalties, everything else like that have been taken away from drivers after the final result. It's kind of left a bitter taste. Not half if your name is Pascal Wehrlein, I would say. But yeah, all in all though, we have reached the end of the season. We have two races left. It's the Berlin E-Prix this weekend. It is Saturday and Sunday as usual, where we have the double header. Although the little bit of difference we have this time is that they will be running the reverse circuit on Sunday, so we don't actually have the identical race circuit for Saturday and Sunday. In saying that, the Berlin E-Prix, in my opinion, is one of the more boring circuits to look at. Hopefully that's not the case. We get so caught up in all of the action that we forget about this. I actually suspect that a part of this is down to the fact that we finished the season last year with 6 races in the Berlin E-Prix. That was probably oversaturation as far as I'm concerned for Berlin. I know why they did it. Obviously it was because of COVID. They were trying to finish out the season and they felt like this was a good compromise to do that. Of course, Antonio Felix da Costa is the current world champion, or the reigning world champion I should say. He won it on that occasion, and that was a great result, so I was very happy about that. He's a very likeable driver, and it was great to see him win the championship, and to beat his teammate as well, who was the reigning world champion at that point, was excellent. Anyway, I'm getting off topic. So let's start looking forward to the weekend ahead. First thing is first, and because we had so many races last year, that kind of skews this result ever so slightly, but there are a number of winners on the grid ahead of tomorrow's race, and of course Sunday's race as well, or former winners. And even if you're looking at people who are in contention for the world title, quite a few in contention for the world title, as you can see by the headline down below, but I'll get to that. Da Costa, of course, has won here, but Van Dorn, Verne, Buemi, Gunter, Roland and Di Grassi all have experience of winning the Berlin E-Prix. So that will hopefully stand to them in what should be a very, very entertaining battle. Interesting to see that De Vries has never won here, and he sits on top of the championship at the moment. That throws a little bit of spice in there. Additionally, Robin Prines has never won here, and he sits second in the championship. Now, both of those drivers have finished second, and I think if you ask them before the weekend if they take 2 second place finishes, absolutely, yeah, consistency is the key, and we'll see that a little bit later on when I analyze this in a bit more depth. So 18 out of the 25 drivers can still win the world title. Isn't that just it's a staggering stat. It's so unbelievable. A lot of it is down to the fact that we have this really ridiculous qualifying format. Some people stand by it, some people hate it, some people actually don't understand what the hell it's all about. I've been watching Formula E from the very beginning, and I feel like I'm only starting to get it now. The concept is this: if you're high up in the championship, you go out in one of the first groups in qualifying, and you have a really bad qualifying because the circuit is so green and it hasn't been rubbed in, etc. So yeah, it gets very, very tricky. So 18 drivers can still win the championship. it blows my mind. It really does blow my mind. And it's not like it even comes down to one race. It comes down to the fact that we have 2 races this weekend. And so if somebody does really well tomorrow and jumps to the top of the championship, ahead of De Vries or ahead of Franz or whoever, they are absolutely screwed for qualifying the following day, and they could in fact hand the advantage to somebody else. It's absolutely insane. Let's have a look at the championship standings, and I'll try my best now to articulate what I'm talking about here. So at the moment we have Nick De Vries sitting on top, Robin Franz is in second, Sam Bird is in third place. De Vries has, as you can see, like a 6-point lead in the championship. Which is absolutely nothing when you consider that a maximum of, I think it's 29 points a driver can pick up in a single race weekend if they get pole position, fastest lap and win the race. So that's very easy to overturn, and it is kind of what has been happening all season as well. But looking further afield, we have Jake Dennis, we have Da Costa, we have Alex Lynn, Nick Cassidy, Mitch Evans, Mortara, Rast, the list goes on, Verline, Verne, Van Dorn, Degrassi, Gunter, Roland, Lotterer, Sims. All 18 of those guys can still win the world title. How crazy is that? Can you imagine heading into the last weekend of Formula 1 and there are 16 to 18 drivers who could still win the world title? It just doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. So we're really being spoiled here. I know that as I keep saying, qualifying has a large part to play in this. But even in Formula 1, if you were to do that, the fastest car would still do really well. So I think it actually goes some way to show us how close together these cars are as well. There's no clear number one car. It seems from weekend to weekend, you could pick out that, okay, the Mercedes is very fast this weekend. Okay, the Jaguar is very fast this weekend. Oh, Porsche looks really fast this weekend. It's not consistent. There's no consistency there. It's not like, okay, Mercedes and Red Bull, one or the other is going to be fast and nobody else has a hope, so that adds a little bit of spice to it all. And the teams championship, as you would expect, is just as tight. So Envision Virgin Racing are in first place. We have Mercedes in second place, and Jaguar Racing now are in third place. I actually don't know the stat for who could win the world title or constructors championship, but you would have to assume that probably it goes down to 9th place, even 91 points. There's 70. This 70 points. No, it probably couldn't happen actually. Oh no, it could happen. Who knows? 70 points with 2 drivers on a team, 1-2 for both races. Yeah, okay, it could happen. It maybe even 10th place could win the championship. But judging by the form of Buemi this season, I don't think Nissan e.dams are going to be winning in the championship. But there, I've done it now, and Buemi is probably going to win both races now, just to spite me. Last time out, we had a very exciting race, of course, in the Berlin E-Prix. Well, it was double header. The first race was won by Jake Dennis, and then the second race on the Sunday, which was the really exciting race, was won by Alex Lynn after Lucas Di Grassi got black flagged and disqualified. He did actually finish first on track, but he didn't fully stop his car in the pits when he made that quite elaborative move, and the rules are the rules, so he didn't win. I don't think we can complain. If he had stopped the car, there would be something to talk about, but you can see clearly that the car just doesn't stop. The momentum doesn't stop. He may have hit the brakes, the wheels may have stopped turning, the car did not stop moving. That's unfortunate. Here are all the winners we've had so far this season, and this pretty much matches what you see in the championship as well. It's a mixed bag of winners. Who I will pick out here is, we have Nick De Vries has won 2 races, Sam Bird has won 2 races, and Jake Dennis has won 2 races, believe it or not. Of course, last time out we had Alex Lynn, as we've just mentioned, winning. This was a long time coming as well. Alex Lynn has been there or thereabouts. He seems like a fast driver in a lot of the races we've had this season, and has been terribly unlucky. So it was great to see him finally win that race. And looking at guys who are in the mix as well, you can see Antonio Felix da Costa. He won the Monaco E-Prix, which was by far, I would say, my race of the season. So there are winners in there. There is one outlier, however. There is one person who's in the top 3 and hasn't won any races this season. Can you figure it out? I'll reveal all in a minute. Of course, who's going to win this weekend? Yeah, that's the big question, and it could be anyone. Just looking at this list of previous winners and looking at the championship, anyone from 1 to 18 could win that. Anybody could emerge as a victor tomorrow. So in 5th place in the championship at the moment, looking at the contenders, I can't look at all 18 of them, we'd be here all day, so I've decided to look at the top 5, bearing in mind that some of these guys could be completely out of contention after the first race tomorrow on Saturday. But that's the way it goes in Formula E. Yeah, it's non-stop. It's almost as fast on the leaderboard as it is on the track sometimes. So we have Da Costa here. Da Costa is in 5th place. As I mentioned, he's one race win this season. That, of course, was the Monaco E-Prix. You can see he has had some difficulties as well. As the season has gone on, there are a number of DNFs in there, but that seems to be pretty normal for all of the drivers. And that's the way it goes. Next up, in 4th place, we have Jake Dennis, of course, for BMW I Andretti. And the BMW hasn't looked as good as last season, but somehow the drivers are getting good results here and there. We had Gunter, who won a race as well this season. So great to see Dennis here in contention. Of course, Gunter can win the championship as well. We shouldn't dismiss that. But Dennis had his second win of the season at the London E-Prix last time out on the Saturday race, and so he quite rightly finds himself in contention. There you can see. What can he do at the Berlin E-Prix? Of course, Berlin will be a big home race for BMW. Of course, big home race for Mercedes as well. De Vries sitting on top of the championship. It was the Valencia E-Prix, the second of the double header there, that Jake Dennis also won this season. And moving on, then we have Sam Bird, who's in 3rd place in the championship. Of course, he has won 2 races as well this season. The 2 he's won has been the second one in Saudi Arabia and the second New York E-Prix as well. A Bird real fan favorite. I think he's the type of driver you like to get behind as well. And he's been there or thereabouts ever since he was introduced to Formula E. He's been a very strong competitor, and he's good value for money. Whether or not he can pull it off this weekend, it remains to be seen. I would say he has a very, very strong chance of this, just purely on the basis he's a fast driver and he gets himself into good positions and he can overtake when he needs to overtake. He has had quite a few DNFs this season. That's the only concern I would have, but that's the way the cookie crumbles. All right, next up we have Franz. Franz is in 2nd place in the championship, but Franz has not won any races this season, so he has a number of 2nd place finishes, as we can see here on the chart. Saudi Arabia, Monaco, hotly contested race there in Monaco. So Franz has won nothing this season, but he could still win the championship. He's the dark horse for the championship. He certainly is. He's been thereabouts for the majority of the season as well, so he's kind of found himself being a contender for most of the season, and that's very interesting. He's my outside tip to win this. I would really like to see Franz win this. I think he's a very good driver. It's a shame he never made it into Formula 1, the same as Da Costa. But I think we have enough good Dutch drivers in Formula 1 at the moment with Max Verstappen, but anyway, that's the way it goes. Speaking of which, we have another Dutch driver, Nick De Vries, who's currently sitting on top of the championship. Nick De Vries, though, is very strongly linked with the Williams seat for 22 next year in Formula 1. So that's interesting. So this could be his final appearance in Formula E for quite some time. So can you imagine if he takes the Formula 2 title, then he takes the Formula E title and then heads into Formula 1? That's quite a nice CV to be taking into Formula 1. Also, the new regulations in Formula 1 next year it means that Williams aren't necessarily going to be a backmarker next year. Maybe the regulations will work out really well for them. You can see they're certainly making strides moving forward. I don't really need to talk about Formula 1 in this show because the focus is Formula E, but the Latifi and Russell both finished in the points last time out in Formula 1, so there you go. Anyway, it could be a very good move for him if he does get the seat in Williams. Of course, Mercedes backed, obviously, because he's driving for Mercedes here in the Formula E. He also has 2 races. He won the very first race of the season in Saudi Arabia, and he most recently, actually you have to go back quite a bit, he won that crazy race, the first Valencia E-Prix, which was actually the very first race that took place on a normal racing circuit in Formula E, so there's a historical fact for you. However, it was also the one where most of the drivers ran out of usable energy just before the end of the race. He picked up the pieces and he currently sits on top of the championship, and sometimes that's the way it goes in sport. So I think, that's it. That's everything from my side at the moment. Looking forward to this weekend very, very much. The conclusion to the championship, can't call it. No idea who's going to win this championship. No idea at all. If we come back to the driver standings for a second and have a look at that, it's probably going to be some of the guys here in around, anywhere between 14th down to 20th will qualify really, really well. I realise that puts Buemi right in the frame when I said he's not going to do anything, and he probably will now this weekend. This would be quite a time for Andrea Lotterer to step up as well, in my opinion. I can't help but feel that even in 11, Pascal Wehrlein is kind of situated right in the middle of the pack there, to put him in a not so bad qualifying position, and maybe he can redeem himself this weekend, or at least redeem what has been lost in all of those disqualifications and penalties that he received earlier on in the season. He could be much higher in the championship now if it wasn't for that, but you can say the same for a couple of drivers. That's the way Formula E goes. Anyway, let us know in the comments what you think of this. Who is going to win the championship? Does anybody have a really good guess? I'm really interested to hear your feedback, to hear what you think of this. Also, whilst you're at it, please don't forget to like this video, thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and hit the bell as well if you want to be notified of any future videos. And we really appreciate your support, and I will speak to you really soon.